Hello and welcome to the Daily Brown Bag. Today we're going to be talking about how consumers use local search. I'm Chad Hill and I'm joined by Adam Stetzer.
Yeah, good afternoon, Chad. Welcome to the Brown Bag. We're talking about local search and consumer behavior. And Chad, this is a topic we've hit on quite a bit over the last few years as this quest to understand local and how it's going to interplay with desktop search and mobile advertising has really come into focus. And Google recently did a study. They partnered with a few other firms to take a look at the consumer behavior, consumer local search behavior, and they looked across 9 different verticals with over 5,000 adult smartphone users responding, so a pretty good sample. And I think the results, Chad, are largely things we already know, that people are really using local search for research and comparison shopping. But these stats are interesting. I'll read them out and then let's talk about the implications. 4 out of 5 consumers use local search engines to find out local information, the most common of those searches being to get the address, the hours, directions to a local destination or a product availability. Half of the consumers who did a local search on their phones then stopped into the store within 24 hours after doing the search. So it's a fairly immediate thing. 34% of consumers who did local searches via a PC or a tablet also stopped in. So slightly less than the half who are on their phones. More purchases come out of local searches on a smartphone than non-local searches on a smartphone, and that sort of makes sense. And the stats here are that 18% of consumers who did local searches ended up purchasing something within a day versus 7% of consumers who did non-local searches, although they did end up purchasing something, but it was a lower number. So I think some of these stats, again, confirm what we already know. Let's talk about the implications for internet marketing.
Yeah, well, these are very interesting, and it certainly is an evolving topic. One of the things that I found really interesting is that some of the stats that talked about is that 4 out of 5 consumers said they prefer to see ads that have some local content, and this was very interesting that actually 60% of consumers interacted with some of the more advanced local call to action features of some ads. So these are things like call buttons, having the ability to click to go directly to a map, seeing phone numbers and directions right in your ad format. So that's very interesting. But you might ask and think that, well, this information is being all promoted by Google, and of course Google has a vested interest in local because they are one of the larger providers in that market. But there's some other interesting information that ComScore released back in April in their local search study, which said that almost all PC owners do search locally. So that was 96%. 79% of mobile phone owners use their mobile device to do a local search. 81% of owners do local searches on their devices. And again, as you said, Adam, that in many cases, 90% to 90% of these people end up going to a physical location. So we've talked about this before, and we've said that there are lots of different ways to look up and do local searches, and you really want to make sure that you do lock down all your local listings. A couple more interesting stats before we get to some tips on what you can do. BIA Kelsey did a study just to kind of show where the industry is. That showed that 60% of small businesses actually don't have a phone number on their website. 75% don't have an email contact, and actually 93% don't have their website is not mobile optimized. So you've got this tremendous growth in the demand to do local searches, and yet most small businesses are sort of hopelessly behind. So here's some stuff to do immediately. Immediately go out and claim your local listing. That's Google, Bing, and Yahoo. Second, make sure your website is mobile friendly. There are tons of ways to do this, either with a standalone local page or a relatively inexpensive redesign of your website to make sure it's responsive. Make sure it's mobile friendly. Make sure that your address and citation information is consistent. If you have an old phone number floating around, go fix it, because when there's inconsistent data, it tends to mess up all of your results over time. So lock down, make all your data consistent, make sure you proofread all of your information again to make sure that everything is current, and then finally, if it makes sense for your business, if you have multiple locations, create some maybe targeted pages for each of your different locations. So if you do have 3 physical locations, you probably want to have a location page for each one of those that has the address on it, so that again the search engines can find that information and help surface the right content. Those are our tips today on local search.
Right. So the research is pretty definitive here on consumer behavior on local search. The demand is growing, yet we see small businesses are pretty far behind. Some of those stats are pretty startling, Chad. 60% of small businesses don't have a phone number on their website. 93% of small business websites are not mobile compatible. I know a few of these made our top 5 list video that we shot recently about the top 5 things I could do to make my website better. It's good to see them reiterated here. I hope these are helpful. Drop us a comment and let us know if you're jumping on the bandwagon to be well positioned for local. We'd like to hear some of your tips and engage in some conversation, and we sure hope you would subscribe, so we'll see you back tomorrow.